I'm not sure whether the best expression is Happy Epiphany, Merry Epiphany, Blessed Epiphany. But I'll use the words from the first reading. Rise up in splendor. Don't get up, okay? But it said, rise up in splendor, Jerusalem. So rise up in splendor, people of St. James and others have gathered here together today. Your light has come. The glory of the Lord shines upon you. And I really like that part of it. The glory of the Lord shines upon us. And it continues, your heart shall throb and overflow. Who is this? Who is this? Anybody know? Yeah. This is one of the Magi. Okay, one of those three kings. But no, it's not Herod. But it's one of the three kings. We're going to come to Herod. We're going to talk about him. So there's only two of the Magi down there today because I took one, and he's here. And when it comes to the Eucharist, I'm going to turn him around so he's adoring up here. Okay? And you got to watch and make sure I do that, because if I forget, somebody's got to tell me. Okay? Yesterday, I called a former classmate of mine who is an Armenian priest from Armenia. He actually grew up in Lebanon, and he's part of what's called the Eastern Rite Catholics. We are Western Rite. And there are about 20 different smaller groups of Eastern Rites. And he's pastor of an Armenian parish near Boston. And for them, Epiphany is more important than December 25th. Okay? Now, given that they're in Boston, they're going to celebrate December 25th too. And for them, Epiphany is on a traditional date, January 6th, which was Friday. For us, it's moved to the closest, we're the Western Church, to the closest Sunday. And then the Orthodox Christians celebrated Epiphany yesterday on the 7th. And for all of them, the Orthodox and the Eastern Christians, really, this is their real celebration of Christmas is on Epiphany. What's some of the significance? Well, let's compare it to the shepherds. Now, the shepherds were locals. The shepherds were the scum of society, and they were the ones who the angel came to first, which says a lot about the role of church. Then we have, and by the way, Luke wrote about them. Matthew wrote about the Magi. And whether there were three or more and what their names were, that's all just tradition. We know the basics in the story, that they came from the east, they were led by the star, they went to Herod, they went on to Bethlehem, they gave gifts, they returned by another route. The Magi represent that the whole world, everyone, is invited to salvation. Christ is revealed to all the nations. And as they present their gifts, the gold, the frankincense, the myrrh, that's not that important to us. They gave themselves. What's important to us is that as God has given us the gift of salvation, we give ourselves back to God. And on this prayer card, which have been on the tables for a couple of weeks, and most of you have, those of you who don't, take one from the three tables as you leave today. This prayer, take, Lord, and receive. It basically says that. All that I am, all that I have, I give to you, O God. We have the star, the symbol of that light. Your light has come, the reading says. Yeah, that star leads us. It wasn't just back then. Now there's a subplot. This is where Herod comes in. Okay? There's a subplot in all of this. It's called evil, deceit, lying, danger. It's Herod. Herod, even what word to use? He was so insecure. He killed his brother just to make sure he could stay as king. Okay? And then he would like to have killed Jesus too. He tried, he failed. Now, this subplot with Herod will continue with Pilate. Okay? Herod does die, but it continues with Pilate. So all through Jesus' life, it starts immediately. Now, in prayer today, have a good talk with baby Jesus. You got to use your imagination, okay? But have a good talk with baby Jesus. Have a good talk with the Magi. Ask them their story. Use your imagination. Okay, it's a good way to pray. And have them talk to you about the story of their lives. You tell them the story of your life. It'll work. Now, a couple of reflections I found helpful for Epiphany and the Christmas season. Number one is the manger, the crib. This is the child Jesus, the image we have from outside. Now, nobody's called me and said somebody stole it, because I borrowed it, okay? What this piece of art symbolizes has turned the world upside down. It literally has. Now, God was present through creation from the beginning. God was present to the people in the Old Testament, but not as human. A little bit over 2,000 years ago, God assumed human flesh. And that's what made all the difference. God lives with us that way, and we can share in the divine. Today, it continues, not the Jesus of 2,000 years ago, but the Jesus who is sacramentally present, the Jesus who functions through church, the Jesus in our hearts. And again, everything's been turned upside down because of the birth of Christ. The second reading used the expression, the stewardship of God's grace. It said that we are co-heirs with Christ of salvation, that we are partners with God in taking care of the universe. That's two things. A third reflection I found helpful. What Christmas and Epiphany say is that God believed in human beings, even though sometimes we mess up, and even though sometimes we mess up big time. That's the sacrament of reconciliation. God believed in human beings, but here's the other part. God continues to believe in human beings. And as we recognize that today, we recognize that the glory of God's love is reflected today in everyone we meet. Now, there's some people we're going to say, boy, I can see God's love real clearly, and there's some people who are going to say, I can hardly see God's love there. Well, Mother Teresa would look at every single person and see God in that person's face. That's our challenge. Fourthly and lastly, in terms of some reflections, The word epiphany means the manifestation of Christ to the whole world. If we listen carefully, there's going to be a manifestation of God to us today somehow. It might be a small, teeny-weeny little voice. It might be a loud bang. I don't know. But the Lord's saying some things to us today. We need to listen. What is the Lord saying to me today? How is the Lord changing my heart today? I'm going to end with those words again. Rise up in splendor. It said originally people of Jerusalem, but people who are gathered here today. Your light has come, the glory of the Lord shines upon you. Your heart shall throb and overflow. With the Feast of Epiphany, we end the Christmas season. The tree's coming down this afternoon. The major scene tomorrow. We'll be singing our last Christmas song at the end of Mass.